to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
The truth sure is hard to swallow when you're choking on your pride.
And Dale Hummel.
If you don't like change, you will like irrelevance a lot less.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, give me the news.
I don't know any news other than Beto and Circleback Saki have turned on creepy, sleepy Joe, and Beto is way behind in the Texas polls, so I guess he thinks attacking Biden is going to help him out. But
it might help. It might help.
And Jen Psaki has said that if the midterms are a referendum on Biden's presidency, that the Democrats will lose badly. So, yeah.
Isn't that impressive that she just came out and said that?
I don't know if it's impressive, but it's something.
Oh, no, I'm fully impressed. Now, I don't like Circleback, and I'm going to be the first to acknowledge that. But for her to stand up there and try to defend the ignorance and walk everything back that Joe said, she probably did as well as anybody could do. Much better than baby Beetlejuice. That's up there, your cute little friend.
I never said she was my friend. I said she was a physically attractive, cute child, and she is.
I would like to disagree with that.
Okay, whatever.
And I think she's just a mess. A mess. Total mess.
I said she was a mess. I watched her the week she took over for Psaki when Psaki had COVID. I knew it was going to be a mess.
You predicted it would not go well.
No, not at all.
Terrible. How before we get into any serious news, how was shopping in Cincinnati?
It's terrible. I've never been to a mall that I did not spend a dime, but I did not spend a dime. So terrible.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Very sad day for you.
It's not good.
The CEO of McDonald's came out, and I believe they must be headquartered in Chicago, is my assumption, and made a statement that it's difficult for him to bring good people in because of the crime crisis in Chicago. What do you think Beetlejuice thought about that?
And as I said, he just needs to hire Dylan. Dylan decided to move to Chicago. He's right there.
He's right there. He's good to go. No,
I don't think Beetlejuice thinks about anything anymore. Like, when does her term come up?
I wish I could tell you, but I don't think it's now. I'm pretty sure of that. So,
do you get to be mayor of Chicago till you die? I mean,
yeah, it used to. Richard Daley, I believe, had a. He was there for decades. So
but you have to get reelected, right? Like,
well, it's not a real election in Chicago. It just,
but they just don't have them at all. Like, she's been elected mayor, and until she quits,
they pretend to have elections. But it's more of an appointment from the inner circles.
I would think they could find somebody. Like, I know a Republican's not going to win in Chicago, but I think they could find a better Democrat than her.
You know, I thought about that, and I don't know why they propped her up there. And when that election was taking place, somehow I missed it. I'm just going to be as honest as I can. I do not remember her running for mayor. I'm sure she did. I'm sure she was kind of elected, but I don't remember it.
We've been doing this podcast for 2.5 years, and I don't know many mayoral office terms that don't come up within 2 years.
I'm with you. I get it. I will research that one and see what I can come up with, because I can't believe this. I don't know what Beetlejuice is. She either stands up there and bold-faced lies about things, or she's just that ignorant and confused and just doesn't know. And I don't know which it is.
Oh, me neither.
Your girlfriend, Crooked Hillary, she compares a Trump rally to a Hitler rally. That was nice of her.
Look, Hillary has got her a Netflix show. She's doing all. She talked about WAP on the Netflix show with her daughter and Cardi B and all of that. Like, I mean, it's a thing. I have already said this. I think she is running again. That is my belief.
I would agree with that. You notice that the New York City mayor is trying to get $500 million from our tax dollars from the federal government so he can put up his tent city for a couple hundred of the immigrants that were bussed and flown into his city.
Well, why don't they just put them in the hotel rooms where they're putting all the homeless people?
I don't know. They built them a tent. They're not sure where they're going to go to the bathroom, and they located them in AOC's district, kind of the poor area of New York, as they Just like Martha's Vineyard, they just don't want them around the elite left. They would rather talk about being sanctuaries and how good people they are, but they don't want the immigrants near them.
I'm just ready for this election to be over, and I know we're like 45 days out, and I mean, I hope it goes the right way, but like, I'm already past this. I want Biden to say he's not running for president again. I want Camel Toe to say she's not running for president.
He said that on 60 Minutes. He said it.
He did not.
He did. He said, well, that was his intent, but you just never know.
He said he wasn't going to run for president.
He said it when he was asked if he was going to run for president. He was not sure or and I have to paraphrase, basically wasn't sure, but that was his original intent. But he basically just said, no, I'm not. That is how I took it.
No, unless he said words. I don't, no.
Yes.
I don't, no.
He's not running. I don't know why we're even talking about it. He's not running.
I agree with you. I want to hear it come out of his mouth.
I don't even care. Doesn't matter. He's not running. Done.
It does matter. It does matter, sir. Yes, it does matter.
Because you want to see Hillary jump in and then beat up.
No, because until he says he's not running, none of these other people can announce.
Oh, your California boyfriend is pretty much announced.
He is just buying ads in Florida. That is not.
I think he's pretty sure he's going to be running against DeSantis. Is that what we would say?
I mean, I don't know, but we'll see.
I made a comment, and it continues to be on the news, Ryan, about fentanyl coming across and looking like candy, and it's just invading every segment of our society. And I made a plea to talk to your kids, no matter how educated you think they are on it. And I sat Chase and Katie down here, my youngest two that are in high school again, and just said, guys, whether it's candy, whether you think it's a Tylenol, I don't care what you think it is, just don't even touch it unless it's coming from home or a doctor's office or something like that. You just can't. And I'm so fearful. I saw some numbers. I wish I would have wrote them down of the overdoses and how many deaths have occurred, especially in some of the younger population from the fentanyl that's openly flowing through this southern border. In Joe and in Camel Toe, they seem to have no acknowledgement of it whatsoever. In my mind, you could hang that right on their head for stopping the wall from being built and the policy that they have overturned and what they have in place right now. And there is zero accountability coming from them. In my mind, I hang a lot of this right on them. I
would have been a terrible child because my mother thinks she's a doctor, and literally her bedroom is like Valleys of the Dolls. Like there's every pill in the world. So I don't take any pills from her either. So you would have been fine.
That's probably a good idea. The stock market drops under 30,000 finally. I think
that's good.
Makes officially a bear market. I guess regarding the midterm election, it's probably not going to help the Democrats. You would assume when people are looking at their 401k and worried about the economy already, that's something that'll hopefully play in their mind. Did you see anything about the popularity of people running over others on the news?
Huh?
Taking their vehicle and running others over. There's two situations.
You can do this?
Yeah, here, I'm going to give you an example. There's two of them. One of them is getting more publicity now, but I want to give you the first one. Do you remember this district attorney in Los Angeles, George Gaskin, I think is his name? He's the one that's just pretty much letting everybody go. You don't get punished for anything. LA district attorney that's crazy. Crazy. Here's an example. There's a teen in LA. Steals a car. He's driving drunk. Purposely runs over a mother with her 8-month-old child in a stroller. And it's on video. You see the mother get flipped over the car. There's tire prints on.
This was a while ago,
head.
Wasn't it?
A week ago, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the video. Like the baby was in a stroller.
Yeah. Yeah. And he intentionally runs them over.
Oh, yeah. He intentionally hit them. Yeah.
So you've got this Gaskin. He will not allow the prosecutors to prosecute for stealing the vehicle, driving under the influence, or attempted murder. None of those get George Gaskin won't allow it. So this kid, and again, I understand he's a minor, but I don't care what you are when you're trying to run somebody over, a mother with a child. He gets 5 to 7 months in a juvie camp. He gets in 14 fights while in the camp, and they're still thinking about giving him early release.
That's cool.
I don't get what this DA, George Gaskin, right? What I understand he's progressive. He wants to help everybody or whatever, but why would he fight for the criminals or put more effort into protecting the criminals than the law-abiding citizen? What is in this for him?
I don't know, but I didn't know you could run people over and not get like punished. So like, y'all don't need to tell me this. I'm a terrible driver anyway, so I could like literally write it off as I'm just a bad driver. But
there's at least be an accident. So there's another incident in North Dakota. A man runs over and kills a teenager, and he comes out after the fact and says, "Well, he thought he was a conservative extremist." Remember Biden's words that conservatism and the radical right are the biggest threat to our society. So this man comes out and basically says he thought he would catch a break if he'd talk about this teenager being an extreme conservative Trump supporter, those things, because it might.
So that's why I ran over him.
Yeah. First, that's why I ran over him. Now it's kind of shifted, I think, or there's not an absolute story, but he said initially that's why he ran over him. Now he's saying he said it because he thought he would get a lesser sentence. But just the fact that that's out there is amazing to me.
This is why I want the midterms over. I want like in this presidential election, it's going to be like bloody. Like I am all about it.
You know what I would like to do with that North Dakota guy and the teenager that intentionally ran people over?
Shoot him in the kneecap. That's your favorite.
I think we could take it further. We'll leave it right there, but we could go much further. And don't have a trial. Just be done.
Just be done.
Yeah. Pence is heading to Iowa, Nikki Haley to Nevada, and Cruz is going to both Nevada and Iowa. I wasn't aware those three were throwing their hat in.
See, this is again why I want midterms over, because until Trump says he's not running, none of those people are going to run. And
Didn't you assume DeSantis would be way ahead of those three?
Nikki Haley can't beat. If Trump doesn't run because of all this new bullshit, DeSantis is the nominee. Like I
think so too. I think it's just that.
I just don't. I think it's done. Like I think he will win as big as Trump won 8 years ago. Excuse me, when the first time he ran, because Trump killed him with 20-something candidates. He still like slayed him, but I think DeSantis will win that large. And I mean, I'm not saying that Nikki Haley and Cruz and Mike Pence. I do not dislike Mike Pence, and I think that he had a very, very difficult time, but like he does not need to run. He needs to go back to Indiana and live in his house in seclusion and whatever, because like, yeah, it's not good.
And I do not dislike him either.
I don't dislike him at all, and I think he had some very hard challenges there at the end, but it's just not going to happen for him. Like his political career, it's over. Unless he wants to be governor of Indiana again or something. Like it's done.
So I'm fairly excited about the revised contract with America that we now call Commitment to America.
Yeah.
Do you remember the 1994, how that went over in the midterm elections when
but they just brought it out 45 days before the election. Like they should have.
Better now than never. Better now.
A little behind the ball here. But
when this was introduced, did you hear how he introduced
50? So Fox News is playing in the background on mute. There's a brand new poll that just came out. 56% of Democrats want someone other than Joe Biden to run in 2024.
He is not running. You just need to get past that.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, and I don't even think he's aware of this. I think he's.
Yeah, that's what. See, that's why I want him.
That's why
to say the words out of his mouth, because I don't think they've told him yet.
No, I don't believe they have. He was at
like, when are they going to set Grandpa down and go? So
okay, so you heard on 60 Minutes about that he's gonna. We talked about this, how he's gonna put troops on the ground in Taiwan if China invades.
Yeah,
and then the White House has to walk it all back, and not only is this is a double problem for us as a country. First off, the provocation that you've kind of irritated China, which I'm okay with that part. But then when you walk it back, it gives you no credibility.
You look weak. I
mean, it's just it's awful. He's at the UN today,
like
stumbling
Rocket
around.
Man firing missiles, and Putin's Biden claiming nuclear war, and Xi is saying all this other stuff, and Biden's like walking the wrong way off the stage.
Totally confused today. Again, I don't know that there's times, I don't know if they put him on some type of medication, but there'll be short periods. I wouldn't call him coherent, but better than other times.
Yeah,
where if he's not on it, he can't even get from point A to B. I don't know. The commitment to America, I'm happy that Kevin McCarthy actually pushed this out or introduced it. I think it's at least something to stand on. I'm with you, Ryan. I think it's a little bit later than ideal, but it's better than nothing. And hopefully it does some good in the midterms. Speaking of Putin, are you concerned that he's backed into a corner at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on there. Like, I mean, he threatens to use a nuke, but then if he does that, the world's going to go for it. I mean, it's no longer going to be him and Ukraine.
I would assume that. I think he's probably under fire from the oligarchs. I think the higher ups that he's even surrounded himself with, he's probably very nervous about them trying to get him out of office and maybe even fearing for his life. And that's where I'm concerned when he gets to that point where he thinks he's either going to lose control or lose his life. He's crazy enough to do anything because he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. So that's what concerns me, and that makes me very, very nervous when we see those kind of things happening. So it's a little challenging. So there's a lot going on. We do need to have a Beyond the Circus as we get closer to the midterms.
Yeah, I just want him over.
Maybe as soon as Joe comes out and says, I am not running, is that what we're waiting on?
No, that won't be until after the midterms, though.
No, they're saying that may not be until 6 months post. I think he's going to drag it out as long as he can. We just assume he's not running, move on. Do you have any other current events? We've got a pretty nice topic we're going to move into.
Well, we got to get Matt back on because he's not here.
And we've got some BTR JLA news.
Not really, I mean, news, but again, I don't even know. Like, I guess this is the last week in September. Yeah. So again, if you want to sign up for 2022, you got like 6 days left because we are taking memberships for 2023 on October 1. And so again,
at that point, we stopped taking the 2022.
Right. Yes. We stopped taking 2022.
Still sanction shows through 2022 at no charge.
Right. You can still sanction, but toward the end to the end of 2022 at no charge. But the form will no longer be on the website. They will have to contact us because the new form for sanctioning will be up then too. So if you haven't sanctioned your show for 2022 by October 1 and you want to sanction, you will have to contact us via email, and we can still do that for you. But lots of stuff happening. Hopefully this week. I've shared the regional banners online before. I put the all-around banners up. Part of the buckles have made it to Crockett. Of course, I'm not there.
So where are they in Crockett? Are they in the home that's being demolished?
No, they are in our office. But
okay. A safe, secure place.
Right, yeah. Anyway, hopefully some of I'll get pictures of the trophies and those can go up, but I cannot give you a top 10 this week because we're recording on Sunday, and right now Warren has got our little points program put down because he is doing the scores to put up a new points update. So I can't give you a top 10, but I do want to say thank you to a national award sponsor, one of the latest ones, ReproLogics. They are booking stuff for the fall right now. They've got a brand new website, and ReproLogics is a full-service cattle and small ruminant reproduction company headquartered in Fort Scott, Kansas. Their goal is to provide customers with the highest quality services at competitive prices. They combine their knowledge and expertise in reproductive physiology with the state-of-the-art equipment and technologies to maximize the reproductive performance of their clients' cattle, deer, sheep, and goats. I didn't know about deer. Oh, my. But again, we appreciate ReproLogics for their sponsorship of the National Awards Program and for employing my sister Callie and a great company. And so if you need any reproductive services, look no further than ReproLogics.
Excellent. Thank you for the sponsorship on that one. I forgot something in current events. We are recording, as Ryan mentioned, on Sunday. By the time this drops, the Hurricane Ian will have been through Florida and maybe more, and it looks like it's growing into something fairly large. So I hope everybody comes through that okay.
We haven't had a hurricane all year.
No, and you're not heading to Florida this week, I hope.
No, not Florida.
Camped out in Ohio.
I am in Ohio till Friday, New York, Friday and Saturday, Nevada, Sunday and Monday, New Mexico, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, it's a mess.
I think it's all safe places, though, not hurricane bound.
We haven't had a damn hurricane all year.
They're coming. There's 2 of them.
Hurricane season's about to be over.
Let's hope this one fizzles out. I would like to acknowledge once again our continued sponsor, ShowFresh H2O. I get positive testimonials on a weekly basis. I've still yet to get a negative one, so we're excited about that. The listeners are actually using the product, and we're getting some good reviews. Remember, American made, purchase at your local show supply. SwampFox.com is your other option, and we thank ShowFresh H2O for their continued support and keeping our stock hydrated. With that, Ryan, I do have one new sponsor that I want to throw in, Sadler Ranches, Perkins, Oklahoma. Sadler Ranch will be featured on RFD TV's American Rancher, airing October 3rd. If you want to learn more about that ranch, they have a production sale coming up December 5th. And Ryan, guess what?
What?
You know what kind of calves they have there?
No idea.
Augie.
Oh, my.
Sadler Ranch is actually a partner in one of the bulls that originated in the embryos I brought up from Argentina, bull we call Argentine, probably one of my favorites of any that we've brought up so far, and he'll have some progeny on display there. There will actually be some other Argentine genetics selling as commercial bulls, but I would say if you want to look them up on Facebook, Sadler Ranches, or catch the RFD episode October 3rd.
Lovely.
Ryan, with that, are we ready to bring on Matt? But I think Matt disappeared.
That's what I was trying to tell
He's
you.
gone.
Matt is not here.
He's gone. Ryan, the main topic today is going to be all about discussing overaged livestock. Ryan and I have brought the topic up on other episodes, and I think we've got people. A episode.
We had a whole episode about it,
and I think it's come up in
age discrimination,
question and answer as well. I believe. I'm not sure, but a little bit. So there's no question. You go across the country of all species at any size show, people are talking about, well, this one's overage or this one's in the wrong class, however you want to put it. And it's no secret that some of these ages are being falsified. Many breeders justify this by saying everybody's doing it. If I don't move the age, I have no chance in the show ring. With that said, we decided to bring on an individual that is searching for a better way. We welcome Matt Claeys, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Swine Registry, a new position that Matt just came into this spring. He has been a valued guest on Beyond the Ring, as well as a welcome source of information for myself on a regular basis. Matt, thank you for jumping in to discuss some rule changes and your new position with us today.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast.
Well, I think the first thing we're going to start out with, Matt, there's one press release that I believe, or at least an email that I saw, talking about some things that relate directly to this topic about overaging of livestock, compromising maybe the long-term success of the show ring and the junior livestock industry specifically. How is the NSR addressing this at this point?
Well, the NSR has been working on this topic for quite some time. My understanding is that discussion started clear back in 2018 on this topic. I've been fortunate enough to sit in on some executive committee meetings prior to taking the position officially on June 1, and certainly a topic that was discussed at every one of those committee meetings. They sure didn't take it lightly, and points of discussion ranged from, is it a problem? Is it not a problem? We talked about trying to prove, is there a biological that will help address that issue? Why do exhibitors show breeding stock for the NJSA events? And, what is the advantage for some of those families to exhibit gilts, as we have in the past, by age, and they haven't necessarily maybe had to worry about weigh-backs and that stress level of a declared weight, and a number of things that were discussed by the executive committee.
Excellent. With that being said, and I know that this is probably, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of positive and negative coming your direction or questions about these things. You said this had started years ago. When this was brought up, I assume with your executive committee and with breeders and running it by things, what kind of response did we initially get that there's going to be some changes on this?
Well, the changes, maybe we ought to say what the change is, and the executive committee voted unanimously to exhibit junior purebred gilts by weight within the month that they were farrowed or month of birth. There was a lot of discussion and deliberation.
So if it's a January born, they would all still be in the January class, but sorted out by weight within the Januaries.
Correct. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And is this something that you think is going to be the silver bullet to fix everything?
I don't think it is a silver bullet, but I think that it's an opportunity to maybe address the issues of those, quote, papered farrowing dates and where we are within the show industry, just in terms of maturity, right? What do a lot of the judges and people are looking for? More foot, more substance of bone, a little stouter featured type of animal, and that comes with maturity. I think this way is a way to allow those exhibitors to probably be put in a class where they're more relative to each other when we evaluate by weight. You know, there was a number of discussions where we thought we needed a measurable moving forward and how to break classes, and then there's also a facet that sure wanted to keep birth date because that's how livestock have been exhibited across species for a number of years, centuries, right? And so that traditional part of the show needed to be maintained as well.
Well, I think, even Dale, you talking about a silver bullet, I don't think that it completely will fix everything right away, but this is by far, in a way, the biggest and most monumental step that any association of any species has taken to help prevent the problem. And so, agreed that it's not going to fix everything, but I also don't want it being downplayed how important this step is, because I've said on this podcast a million times, change has to happen, because if we stay doing the same thing over and over, we never evolve. But somebody's got to take that first leap, and y'all are taking the leap. And again, as you continue to do this and as y'all work through it and have more and more shows, I'm sure there will be even more changes within your program. But the fact that you're taking that monumental step is a huge deal in my book, personally. And so, again, if I wore a hat, I'd take it off to y'all, but I spend too much time on my hair on that. So I'm just going to say attaboy, because I think this is a big deal.
No, absolutely. And Matt, I don't know how big of a role you played on getting this pushed through, but there is no question, and we've talked about it, and I think we're going to be open to discussion. Can this be applied to other species? And I think that those other associations need to pay attention a little bit and kind of follow what's going on here. And when I look at it, and I want to compliment what Ryan said and echo what he said, when we do something like this, I know as a judge, and you get out there in that January class of Duroc gilts or whatever it may be, you have these gilts coming in that are that much bigger, that much more mature, and all of a sudden you've got one that's really, really good, built right, quality, balanced, everything's there, yet she's simply smaller. She's not as big as those other gilts. She's not as heavy. It's hard for some of those judges to grab a hold of that one and get her to the top of the class, and rather maybe they'll take that little bigger, heavier, more mature one that's not quite as good but has that advantage or apparent advantage in performance. Hopefully this evens that playing field where those quality hogs, it's easier for those judges to grab a hold of them. And it's just like when it comes back out in a division, I think it's much easier to look at those animals in division versus just in class. And I can think back to whether it's a hog show or a cattle show or whatever it may be. there's some darn good ones out there standing about third in class that maybe are as good as anything in that show, but they're getting outpowered and outweighed by some bigger animals. And I'm not saying every judge is going to do that, but it happens. And this is exciting, Matt. I am absolutely 100% behind this. Just like Ryan said, taking that first step, it's huge. With that, I'm sure you're going to come with some criticism. I'm sure there's going to be some out there that oppose it. I hope there's a whole bunch of people that applaud it and can look through the advantages of this, but I'm sure you're going to see both sides or hear both sides.
Well, we've heard both sides, Dale and Ryan, and I do think, though, that by going through the process and taking weights on purebred gilts is not something that was foreign to NJSA shows. They actually started doing that prior to COVID, and then COVID hit, and we had to social distance and do some things, and they quit taking those weights. Now, when they were weighing those gilts, they weren't really utilizing the data that much, or they weren't breaking classes within month of farrowing by weight. And I think that by showing and exhibiting them by weight, it allows so many things just to find the good ones, right? The good functional gilts with quality, and not just being outmassed. But I think there's some benefits to this as well, particularly for our smaller producers. Let's say that you've got a litter that's really good, and it's a family that wants to get those out, but they've got siblings that are all showing gilts, but they really want to promote those genetics, but they don't really want to take out several gilts from that same litter. Well, this gives them an opportunity to do that. They can feed them different. They can have their weights a little bit different and try to get them in a class where they're not competing with each other as well. Particularly on our larger shows where we have a number of classes just because of the size of the events. This gives them an opportunity to possibly not be competing against each other.
Well, and another side note, and again, I think this just makes it more exciting that, you and the NSR are doing this in the pig species, because we know change doesn't happen instantaneously. But because of gestation length in pigs, most breeders have, several litters throughout the year. And so I do think that you will see a great deal of change impacted more quickly than you might think because of just that right there. And I think that this is game changing. And I know there's going to be criticism, and that's fine. They have a right to their opinion, but I think what y'all are doing and the way y'all are doing it, and because I do know that, like you said, they were weighing gilts, but they weren't doing anything with that weight really before Rona hit and all that stuff. Y'all are doing something here that if the other ones will just pay attention and watch how this works, this really could be one of the biggest game changers that the junior livestock industry, or just the show livestock industry period, has probably seen in my lifetime. I'm just going to say it.
Well, I don't know if we're really that cutting edge, but I do know, and I appreciate your comments, Ryan, that it will be different, and it will break things out. And we've got master feeders and master breeders out there that I think it gives them more flexibility to do some things. And the people that are out in the center of the ring, as long as we've got good, competent judges that can find and focus on quality, sometimes when we've had, I can tell you there was a class, as I look back in the records, Doug and I were going through some when they weighed those gilts, there was a class, 15 days spread, 188 pound spread within that class as well.
That's awfully big for 15 days in a species like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
that is incredible from the standpoint, we're not taking obviously all of them there are pretty good performing to begin with, and then we can jump that far over 15 days. So that leads me to ask another question, Matt. And I guess when we just are very open about it, that there's no question that there are situations that ages are not correct on these livestock. I think everybody that listens to this podcast or in the industry is aware of that. So let's just get that out there, and it is what it is. Under that scenario, when someone goes to decide, okay, what am I going to register this hog as, or if it moves into other species, calf, goat, or lamb, or whatever for a birth date, all of a sudden they've got in the back of their mind, do I want to be in the heaviest January class at the expo? Or do I want to be in the lightest one at this or that? There's going to have to, it's not going to be, let's just move them. Let's just make them younger. Because all of a sudden as a judge, if we get this to this heaviest class, and maybe there's some really good ones in there, and if there is, that's great. They deserve to win. But if we get to this heaviest class within the Januaries or Februaries or whatever age it is, and they appear to be that much more mature, maybe not quite as youthful, they appear to be overaged, basically. I don't know that the judge out in the center of the ring is certainly not going to be as inclined to grab a hold of one out of that class. I think it opens the door up to what you said earlier, Matt, just quality. Go out and find those functional, good quality ones, and we can run with them. It's a lot easier to do so.
Yeah, we hope that we make it easier for the person that's sorting them to be able to find the kind that work, right, and fit what they want to do. I think it's really important too, guys, when we break them by month, we're going to show them lightest weight to heaviest, like you had indicated there, Dale. But to get to that weight, and everybody's kind of concerned, or the biggest complaint, I guess, that I've heard is, well, we don't want to have to weigh those gilts. Well, we're not declaring, and we're not going to weigh back the gilts like we do the crossbred gilts or our barrows, right there in the ring. We're going to take a weight on them, and we really hope that people just keep them fresh, keep feeding them and bringing them along. We are planning, though, on weighing hogs outside of the ring. We're going to weigh minimum of 3 hogs for every class outside of the ring, and we'll take that in different locations of where they ended up from a placing standpoint, and we're just doing it purely from a data collection situation, because what we don't want to happen is that people say, well, we just need to go to a weigh back. There's some animal welfare issues in terms of drawing those gilts back and then feeding them and getting 30 pounds more on them by the time they exhibit and those types of things. And quite honestly, by gathering the data, it will tell us what we need to do to make sure that the integrity of the show, animal well-being, all those types of situations are in check. And if we have to go to a way back, if the data tells us that, then we'll sure discuss it and do that. But we really hope that people bring those hogs, they just bring them along, keep them fed, get a weight on them, and so that we can go forward with this type of situation.
No, Matt, I think that's exactly right. And I want to throw out a couple questions that I've received, and I'm sure you've had some of these as well, from people that are showing and or breeding. And I've had a couple of these come at me, and one of them was, well, how basically they want to know, how do we manipulate the system? How do we put ourselves in a position to do well? My comment to them is let's put down the actual true birth date. And then when it comes time to weigh those in, they're saying, well, do I suck them back? Do I fill them up? I think you take them across the scale just at the fill and freshness that you want them to be when they enter the ring. And if we just would do that as a group, wouldn't that be game changing? We have them all in there of the right age. They're coming in across the scale at a correct weight. They look right in class. They look natural in class. And I think that's gonna be an advantage. I think with those judges out there, those that look like they fit in that class, that becomes an advantage. The ones that are way out of place, if you tried to suck them back and you're 40 pounds heavier than the others in there, that doesn't work. That's kind of a red flag to me. So let's just make them go across the scale as natural as we can, and let's put those real birth dates down. It seems very simple.
If they just continue to feed them, I think it will greatly impact the freshness of the hogs on a wide scale at those shows.
Yeah, I agree. And we certainly hope that's what happens. But here again, we're trying to maintain the long-term sustainability and the success of the purebred swine industry. And we want to protect that playing field for our junior members. And quite honestly, they're the driver of our industry. And so we want to make sure that that stays in check. If we have to do a way back, then we can sure do that. We don't want to. And I can tell you guys, we had a outstanding Southwest Regional show at Woodward, Oklahoma. Great facility, great people to work with. And the crossbred gilts, they declare their weight, and then we do weigh-backs right in the ring. It's amazing to me how many of those gilts came through and they were spot on within a pound or two of what their declared weights were.
That tells me that they're wanting to show them fresh and fit the class.
Yep, I would agree.
Well, with both of you, and I don't want to put Matt on the spot, but Ryan's never afraid to. Ryan, you alluded to how this could be game-changing across species. How realistic is it that at least the other breed associations are going to pay attention to this and maybe consider it, Ryan? Do you see this, or Matt, in the beef, the goats, or the sheep, or anything? You can go across species with it.
The NSR is a huge deal in this industry, not just the pig industry, but in the just livestock show industry as well. And so they're going to have to pay attention to it. And when the other species see that one species is getting this done and getting this across, I think the pressure for the other species to do something similar lines will definitely be applied. And whether you want to admit it or not, it is the only thing that most times big change like this is only implemented from the large masses of the population applying pressure to those different deals. This is a different deal. NSR wanted to do this. I don't think there was a great deal. They just wanted to make things better. But because of what they've done, I do think that you will see the other species, and I can't speak for sheep and goats as much, but I know that every show that I have been to in the last, I can't even tell you how long, multiple people in multiple breeds have griped about cattle being overaged. Or that one, there's no way that one should be in this class, all this other stuff. So now when they see a species trying to rectify it, trying to make change, then yeah, they're going to go to every breed exec, every board member, everyone, and say, hey, NSR is doing this. Y'all need to get on the stick. Or that's what I think, at least.
Well, I think, Matt, you've addressed the number one complaint in the junior breeding livestock industry. If we traveled from show to show, all the way from the county fair to the national level shows, that is ringside. What Ryan just talked about, how this one shouldn't be in that class, or they're overaged, or that one's not the right age, however you want to word it. And I think you've addressed it head on. And I'll tell you what, Matt, I appreciate you and the NSR and your executive board standing on 2 feet and just getting it done.
Well, we didn't rush into this decision, and we really had quite a bit of discussion on where do we need to go. And those discussions were anywhere from throwing out age requirements. We still have the age requirements for the different shows that have been in place, that they need to be farrowed after November 1 or later. All those age requirements are staying in place. And that was a concern. And we actually talked about just weighing them and not having age requirements. And that caused a number of discussions, and we thought was probably not necessarily the right way to go. And with what everybody was saying, so the membership was telling the executive board that we had to do something. We just had to come up with a means that we thought was going to address it and try to do the right thing. We'll find out more once we get to the shows and we go through the process. We do have another change that we're going to do along with this. So we're going to weigh those gilts, and they usually go through a check-in process, and then the hogs go through where the animals are inspected for breed eligibility, right? And the registration papers are brought up, and we look at breed character and all those types of things. What we're going to do is, with their registration paper, the original registration paper, they pass the breed eligibility on the back of that paper. We're going to stamp it. And then they can go to the scales and they can weigh it. But those exhibitors need to hold on to that registration paper, because when they go show at another NJSA show, and some state fairs I've talked to will sure accept this, that, hey, this one has met every breed eligibility standard that the NSR and NJSA have put in place. They can just go and just bring their papers up and not have to go through that long line or through that check-in process again. So we hope that we can streamline that painful time of standing in line or bringing hogs up and getting through the process of making sure that everything's right.
Excellent. No, that should streamline things.
Yeah. Now that idea is not a new idea. The cattle folks have been doing that for quite some time. And state fairs and county fairs and them, if you bring up those registration papers, they know what it is, right? In the cattle barn, they sure know what it is. And they're like, yep, we're good to go. We hope that all this effort that we put forward at the NJSA shows is going to help our exhibitors as well at other events, just by stamping that paper. Excellent.
And Matt, I'm going to ask you one other question here, and I'm getting ahead of where we're at, and maybe we'll never need to do this. With this situation that that the NSR has put into play, you had mentioned earlier that we don't have biologicals or a scientific method to measure the hair or whatever it may be to get an accurate age on an animal at this point, at least in swine. Assumably, over time, those things may come into play. Is that something that, if it was in play, that would be under consideration?
Most definitely, it would be under consideration. We've gone through and done the literature search and tried to find some things, and actually we've looked at telomere length on DNA and those types of situations. The database just is not there. There's two populations in which telomere length is utilized to determine an accurate age of a population or of an animal. So the DNR does it with wild birds. And the accuracy of that, I can't tell you, Dale, because I know you're a numbers guy, exactly how accurate that is within the avian population or even a certain breed within the avian population. But that's the one entity that has used it with animals. The other population has been the Chinese people, where telomere length has been utilized to determine an accurate age on the population.
Interesting.
But if we get something that can do that, by all means, we'll sure look at putting that in to determine age. If there's a biological that's accurate and repeatable, and then we'll sure do that. But we may like this way of exhibiting livestock as well. And just
No, exactly. It may not even need to move into that if it comes into play. But I'm
Dale, when you have
your
your podcast topic with Chase and aliens and the sounds animals make or whatever, you can bring Matt in to talk about that.
absolutely
Right
aging animals. I'm in.
No,
we're
again,
gonna-
and I don't know, like Dale may have more questions, but for me, I can't state enough, and this is a problem. It's probably the greatest problem that the show industry has faced for decades and decades, and this is the first time or the first step that anyone has ever made to try to help remedy and rectify that. So again, I just cannot state emphatically enough just how excited I am that Mr. Claeys and the NSR and all those people on the board have taken this dramatic first step into doing this. And I've known Mr. Matt for a long, long time. I know he's going to run it right and it will be done well. And so I hope, what my hope is just like I said earlier, I hope when they see this in the other species, they say, hey, we got to do something too. And so again, kudos to y'all for taking this giant leap. And I really do appreciate it. And I think that the livestock industry, even though there may be some criticisms at first, I think in the long run and in the end game that we will look back at this and go, hey, they were onto something. They saw that there needed to be a change, and they went for it. So I just have mad respect and appreciation for this.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate those kind accolades, and we're just trying to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the shows and make sure that the playing field is the best that it can be for our young people, because they all work hard,
Amen.
No, it's interesting. They're all putting a lot of effort into it. We know how much effort goes into getting these animals shown at the highest levels or at any level. And Matt and the NSR and the executive board addressing, as we stated before, and as Ryan just stated, probably the largest complaint or issue. I think it's a great start. Matt, I can't thank you enough for doing what you've done to get this pushed through. We have always appreciate you coming on here and especially explaining some of the rule changes and making this leap into trying to even that playing field and get animals back to their real ages. So with that, we do thank you, Matt. We hope to have you on again sometime soon.
Guys, thank you very much, and enjoy listening to the podcast and listen to it as I drive into work on Friday mornings. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Ryan, are you ready?
Sure.
It's only three of them, 3 questions and answers.
It's only 3 every week, Dale.
No, like 2 weeks ago, we did a whole pile of them.
Yeah, we did a whole episode.
Whole pile of them. Okay, the first one comes to us from Kevin, and it's a little long. So just maybe take notes, mental notes, whatever you need to. DNA rights on heifer sales. This fall has seen the retention of DNA rights topic creep into a majority of the terms of online sales. Not only are prices increasing along with the cost to feed and show animals, but now breeders are adding so many conditions onto the sale, no guarantee on breedability, flush rights, and now retention of DNA rights. Where does this stop? Why sell the heifer or retain a percentage instead so both parties share in cost and reward? This feels like breeders are losing sight of the objective of selling an animal and transfer of ownership, but would like to hear your thoughts on this.
I don't think that there is anything really wrong with people retaining a flush. My stepfather's fixing to sell some Herefords, and he's reserving the right to retain some flushes on some of those and stuff like that, as long as that breeder's willing to pay for that flush and at a convenient time to the new owner of said animal. I don't think there's any problem with that, especially when you know going into buying this animal that is there. The whole DNA thing, if you want the animal bad enough, and you want to purchase the animal bad enough, then you're going to have to play by the rules set forth by the seller. I don't have a problem with it because, again, as long as it's upfront in black and white, it's there, and you know that that is part of the deal, no one's holding a gun to your head and making you buy this animal. And if the seller believes that much in that animal that they want rights to the DNA, that should just have you it makes me have belief that that seller or breeder has a lot of faith that that animal is on a level that they want to make sure that they can retain that.
Excellent, Ryan. Kevin, I can summarize it real easy. You do not have to buy from those breeders that are doing that if you don't like it.
That's what I said.
Yeah, nobody's forcing you. So I think the market will dictate that, Kevin. And maybe there's a lot of people like yourself, and I'm sure there are, that don't like those rules or those restrictions or not having all the rights that traditionally maybe you've had in the past. And I think the market will dictate how animals are sold in the future. If this doesn't seem to bother people, it's going to continue just like this, and probably more breeders doing it. If it's an issue and another breeder jumps out and says, hey, I'm going to guarantee that these are going to breed, you get sole rights to everything, it's all yours, and they're selling for that much more, well, guess what? Then the others will follow. So I think the market's going to dictate it. So that's where I'm at.
And another thing, I'm just going to put this out there. At least these people are being upfront and honest about the DNA, because anybody can pull a plug out of an animal without telling anybody and then sell it. So
yes,
that's just there.
Absolutely. Okay, Kevin, thank you for that submission or that question. And again, not trying to be negative. I just think that when it's written out there as a buyer, you have a choice to either buy from that under those conditions or not, and the market will dictate such. The second question comes to us from Courtney. As a judge, when you are in the ring and you see an animal that has been altered in some way that is unethical, but the animal still looks really good, how do you decide where you're placing them? What I'm really referencing is goats specifically, where they put air into the goat. Me personally, I would want to put them on the bottom of the class, but I know it's really hard to prove that that's been done. What would you do?
I think she's answered her own question.
Yes, she did.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Have there been times at shows where I thought a sheep, a goat, whatever, had been aired? Yes. Did those animals win under me? No. I do think that if you know what you're feeling for, you can tell. And so, therefore, in those handful of times that's happened, no, that animal didn't win. I think that there's a lot more times where you may think something's happened, but you can't feel it, you can't detect it, you can't see it. So now you're making a judgment call. And so, me personally, as a judge, if I am not 100% sure that something unethical has been done, then I'm going to place the animal as they're supposed to be placed. Because what if I'm wrong in my assumption?
Courtney, I think Ryan's dead on. I think you did answer it to a certain degree, Courtney, yourself. It's difficult. Those that are out there judging shows, even if you're in the trenches, whether you raise goats or sheep or whatever it may be, and you understand everything that's going on and you understand it extremely well, those that are really good at altering animals in an unethical manner, it's difficult. The problem is the ones that we normally red flag in the ring more times than not are those that just maybe haven't done it as much, or they didn't do as good a job, or whatever that may have been, because it is hard when they've done it well to detect. They spend more time on figuring out how to be unethical than they do actually thinking about nutrition and an exercise program. It's amazing to me how much effort goes into certain areas that has zero benefit for our junior livestock industry. So it's hard as a judge. Have I ran into those situations where I was absolutely sure? Yes, I have. And Ryan would tell you sometimes I take it a little too far, and I'm not trying to embarrass the child or anything like that. And I will make a reference to it on the microphone just so those behind the scenes that did that are aware that, hey, this does not work, period. And we've got to be careful because sometimes we've got younger kids on there that have no idea what's going on. Sometimes we have older kids showing those animals that are probably involved and very much aware. And I can assure you that the parents of those kids are more than likely aware and actually have sought out those to do the unethical practices. And that's sad. It's really sad. But Courtney, I appreciate the question. It's a difficult thing for a lot of judges. I do have one thing that I talk about, and I'm not saying it's going to solve this problem, but when I get into a market class, and I don't know that Ryan says it this way, but he's somewhat using those same kind of animals, is that when we get to a certain amount of muscle, and I like muscle as much as anybody, probably more than most, when we get to a certain level of muscle, more doesn't necessarily become better. That let's get to a certain amount of muscle and then sort on quality and how unique that animal is and how many hard to make traits that animal has, rather than just single trait on muscle, because we can enhance that muscle through beta agonists or airing or whatever we're going to do. And that, in my mind, by taking those that have enough muscle and are really good everywhere else, it kind of takes that card off the table, that unethical, unfair advantage card, if that makes sense. Next question comes to us from Dan. Ryan, you knew this one was coming. We had many of these, so I put one in. I know we were going to wait on this one, but I threw it in there. 4 out of the top 5 steers at the Indiana State Fair were disqualified. How can this be stopped? It gives 4-H a bad image.
There's going to be a whole topic, not on the Indiana State Fair of it all, but like about this, because this is something that's come up. And to be honest with you, I do not know what got I know that there were animals that got disqualified. I don't know what animals. I haven't looked it up. And so until I do my own research and see it with my own eyes, I'm not going to like quote any statistics or anything like that. We have talked about this on here with one of the very first episodes we did was about this, and Matt was on it with us, and about drug testing and all this other stuff. And I have a lot of mixed emotions about it, but I do believe that until we all know that mine and Dale's both hardcore stance on it. If you're going to have a rule, you have to enforce it. But on this drug test issue, until people know that animals are getting disqualified, and I'm not talking about, so and so said that somebody got disqualified, until they can see it. There's a press release or whatever, however this has come up in Indiana, whether it was on the results or whatever, until that level of accountability is there, it's not going to change. And as a person who had the most public ever of anything like this,
I think you're in the Guinness Book of Records on that one.
I mean, I can tell you that my heart breaks for every single one of those kids, because I have faced it myself, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I do know that until people are truly afraid that if you can go to XYZ website and see the results and here's your kid's name with the word disqualified beside it, not much is going to change. Because, the slaps on the hands and the, you don't come show for a year, and, nothing hardcore out there, then people are going to continue to risk it because they want to be competitive. And they think that is one way to get them an edge. So, again, I think it's a very delicate situation. It's probably more delicate for me than anyone else in this industry. But if we want to level the playing field, like we're talking about with the NSR showing the gilts by weights within the month, you want to level the playing field by taking out the use of beta agonist and all these other things. The only way you do that is by putting the fear of God in people not to do it. Period. Paragraph. The end.
Nope. I'm completely with you on that one, Ryan. And I think in this situation, I've had several text messages and I went on real quick. So it appears to me, and again, I'm not going to comment any further because I don't know anything more about it other than on the Indiana State Fair website, they do have the official results and they do have DQ next to those that have been disqualified. So they are at least publishing it, which is more than, I don't think you see any of that in the Texas majors. Do you, Ryan?
No.
None. Zero. In some of the national shows, I can think of last year, Louisville. I can think of animals that were kicked out of there and most people don't even know it. So how is that going to stop anything? It's not.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
exactly
say.
What
I mean,
you're saying. It's amazing. I mean, you may hear it if you're in that circle, but other than that, you're probably not going to. So it's interesting. And I think the shows, I appreciate what they're doing. And I appreciate when Matt comes in and Claeys and does some consulting for the shows, he can put a protocol together that's going to take care of 90% of the issues, not all of them, but a good majority of them. I always encourage people to get a hold of Matt if they have any questions, if you're a show manager and want to understand drug testing or carcass evaluation any further. He's a great source for that. With that said, guess what? We are putting the accountability to clean up our industry on the shows. The key word there is our industry. I think that's great that the shows need to do what they can do, but as breeders, as brokers, as traders, as stock show families, everybody involved in this industry, we need to clean our own act up. And we need to get smarter about it. Connect the dots, people. Think about it this way. Oftentimes we'll find families out there that are going to take the shortcuts. They're going to take that unethical route for whatever reason, to build the parent's ego. Maybe they didn't have success when they were showing and they want to get it now. Whatever it may be, they're going to do anything to win. And we know that's not teaching the juniors anything. And I can assure you, if you stop, you can go through each species and those families that are connecting themselves with that set of fitters, that set of brokers, even sometimes breeders, or the breeders that are affiliating themselves with those fitters and traders that are going to make those animals look incredible via unethical means to get that win. And a lot of them will do it because it sells animals. And it's sad that we'll compromise the entire industry to be able to get that banner or say that we won that particular show. So we're going to align ourselves with the devil to get to that point. It's ridiculous. So I want the shows to continue to do what they can. And I appreciate what they're doing, but it's not completely their responsibility. It is our industry. And if we open our eyes up, we can connect the dots and see exactly where the problems are. Stop associating with those issues. Just walk away from it. And that's the best way to fix the problem. But until then, I assume we're going to continue to have shows that have the headaches of trying to implement the drug testing and all the legal issues that come with it. And I appreciate them jumping in and doing what they can. So we're not going to comment any further, Dan, on Indiana State Fair. I'm sure there'll be quite a bit that comes out on this here in the very near future. And I hope everything's handled professionally and everything was done with diligence. And hopefully there's some good somehow to come of that. With that, Ryan, we did record on a Sunday, so a little bit early. We hope our current events stay current. That Hurricane Ian that Ryan says doesn't exist, or we don't have hurricanes anymore, doesn't do too much damage in Florida, but it'll have gone through by the time this one drops. But until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?